Alexander Lukashenko declares himself winner of Belarus presidential vote for the seventh time in a row. Another topic, fiber optic cable between Latvia and Sweden significantly damaged in Baltic Sea. Investigation is underway. Well, everyone knows how it goes and who did that. And a Blitz interview with Ivan Stupak, a former Secret Service of Ukraine officer and an expert in secret things that we are about to make obvious tonight. Good afternoon, my name is Henry Keane. We are at UATV English, an English-speaking Ukrainian state media in constant persuasion to deliver hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. Belarusian dictator Alexander Lukashenko declared himself president. I mean, what kind of a news this is anyway? News will be if Lukashenko did not become a president. Now that would be news. And that is just a routine for his seventh consecutive term in what he calls elections. On January 26th, he become, again, what he always was, a last dictator of Europe, and his elections are again internationally deemed as neither free nor fair. Nothing new. Lukashenko, the country's leader since 1994 and Russian dictator Vladimir Putin's closest ally, has long been accused of staging fraudulent elections in Belarus. In 2020, during the last presidential election, Lukashenko maintained power despite the country's most prominent opposition leader, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, receiving popular support. The Belarusian Election Commission claimed that Lukashenko won almost 87% of the vote, followed by regime-approved and little-known candidates like Sergei Sirankov with 3.2% or Oleg Gaidukevich with 2%. Some 3.6% of the ballots, though, voted against all candidates. You can congratulate the Republic of Belarus. We have elected the president, said that little cute white dog that you see on the screen. Oh, sorry for that, said Igor Karpenko, the head of the Electoral Commission, early on January 27th. The commission claimed an 85.7% turnout. The now exiled opposition leader Tikhanovskaya was not so excited. Following the fabricated results in 2020, mass protests erupted in Minsk but were ultimately quelled by the support of Russia. According to the Belarusian human rights group Vyesna, over 60,000 citizens have been detained for political reasons since the 2020 election. Tikhanovskaya responded to the election result on January 26 by condemning the legitimacy of the vote and rejecting Lukashenko as president.
There are not elections, but a special operation to illegally cling to power. Lukashenko, propped up by Putin, holds 9 billion Belarusians hostage, drags us into war, and betrays our sovereignty. Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, the now exiled opposition leader.
Notably, Lukashenko declined to invite a mission from Organization for Security and Cooperation of Europe, OSCE. Why would he? To observe the country's presidential elections. On November 22, state-run news outlet Belta reported that Lukashenko may completely shut down the internet during the 2025 presidential elections if protests similar to those in 2020 arise. If the protest happens again, we will shut the internet down completely, Lukashenko said, admitting, by the way, that internet shutdowns during the protest in 2020 were carried out with his approval. While Belarus has not directly participated in the war against Ukraine, it has allowed the Kremlin to use its territory as a staging ground for its operations. The country is also cozy hosting Russian tactical nuclear arms on its territory. And a sweet touch to that absurd. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced on January 26th that Belarus had unilaterally released an American woman from detention. Rubio identified the U.S. citizen as Anastasia Nofair, who was detained earlier during former President Joe Biden's tenure. He did not provide details on the timing or reasons for her arrest, but we can. American woman was detained so Lukashenko could release her later, when back on throne, so to show how merciful he is. eternal trick, just as Lukashenko is, right? An underwater fiber optic cable belonging to the Latvian State Radio and Television Broadcasting Center, LVRTC, was significantly damaged on January 26, reportedly due to external impact, according to LVRTC representative Vieneta Sprugain. The cable connected the Latvian town of Ventspils to Sweden's Gotland Island and was located within Sweden's exclusive economic zone, the statement said. Despite the damage, data transmission services continued using alternate routes with minimal impact on most end users in Latvia, aside from slower data transmission speed. NATO has already dispatched additional patrol ships to the region in response to concerns over the safety of critical infrastructure. LVRTC has informed the relevant authorities and inspections are ongoing, though the exact nature of the damage, which occurred at a depth of over 50 meters, will only be confirmed during repair works. Latvian Prime Minister Evika Siliņa convened a meeting with ministers and service heads to address the incident, emphasizing continued cooperation with NATO and Baltic Sea region countries to investigate these circumstances.
We are working together with our Swedish allies and NATO on investigating the incident, including patrolling the area, as well as inspecting the vessels that were in the area. Authorities have intensified information exchange and started criminal investigation. Evika Siliņa, Latvian Prime Minister.
This marks the second recent incident of damaged critical cables in the Baltic Sea. Recent incidents such as suspicious activity of Russian-registered vessels near Denmark or Sweden have added to fears or facts, if you ask me, of hybrid warfare targeting critical infrastructure in the region. When we will finally understand it, I wonder. Russia respects the law only when it benefits them or when they're forced to do so. Full stop. So what happens and happened and will be happening in the Baltics is no coincidence. It's a strategy. Russia sees the Black, Baltic and Arctic seas as a part of a unified geopolitical theater. The West should not engage in petty tactics like selective intelligence leaks. For example, these are highly strategic waters which Russia considers its imperial playground. Now, please allow me to say some words. As someone who was born and raised in Latvia and who holds the Latvian citizenship and who has been in Ukraine for 3 years in a row with a camera in my hand, I'm about to deliver some sad news for everybody who still stands for freedom in Ukraine and in Latvia and in the world. My fellow Latvian Edgar Platonov has fallen on the battlefield in Ukraine, giving his life for what he considered to be a core human value, freedom. Yesterday, Edgar Platonov was buried in his homeland, Latvia. Edgar Platonov, a 41-year-old Latvian volunteer soldier fighting for Ukraine, was killed in action in December on the Eastern Front. Platonov was fighting in the Ukrainian military's International Legion, composed of mostly foreign volunteers. I didn't know him. But there is one thing I surely know when looking at this saddest of pictures. Edgar has not given his life for granted. That was his most precious investment in Latvian-Ukrainian future, and I will do my best to deserve to be a proud holder of a Latvian passport as Edgar's was. If you understand why Edgar was doing what he was doing, fighting against Putin's ill criminal usurped authority, I salute you sincerely. In case you don't, then you are fighting for Putin, wherever you are geographically located. And one more thing. I wish to address Edgar's family now in Latvian language. Cienījamā Platonova ģimene, es pat nemēģināšu teikt, ka saprotu jūsu sāpes. Tas vienkārši nav iespējams. Man nav nekā, ar ko to varētu pat mazliet atvieglot. Varbūt izņemot šos vārdus. Edgars nekad nav bijis viens. Viņš nebija viens, kad ar ieročiem rokās aizstāvēja brīvību un dzīvību, arī manu. Un tagad arī Edgars nav viens. Viņš ir kopā ar 10,000 savu ieroču brāļu un māsu, kuri aizgāja mūžībā šajā noziedzīga Krievijas cāra uzsāktē karā. Paldies, un Dievs svētī Latviju! Ivan Stupak, a former spy and a secret agent that always tell me during an interview that he is not a spy and not an agent. Okay, I understand that. That's an occupational hazard. Hello, Ivan.
Hi, glad to see you.
It's glad to see you too. I hope you heard what happened in Baltic Sea and will undoubtedly happen again. This is Russian sabotage, strategy. Yeah. That's what it is. What do we do about it as a European family?
Okay, so we have to understand it's not happened for a first time, it's not happened for a second time, it's happened for a third, and it will happen in the nearest future because it's a classic strategy of Russia Federation, and I will tell you more. It's a classic strategy of Soviet Union saboteur operations. Okay, maybe in Soviet time there weren't some optic wires located on sea bottom, but nevertheless they tried and they operated with the same level of saboteur operation. So what we have to do in this particular case, from my point of view, every country which are located in next to Baltic Sea, I mean Finland, Norway, Baltic countries, etc., they have to create or establish some special rules for these countries, and also how to contract on these saboteur operations, and as a punishment when, for example, this kind of operation has happened or conducted, and law enforcement agencies, doesn't matter, Finland or Norway or Estonian, they capture this vessel and detain the command or crew, and as an act of punishment, they should be established that vessel should be sold on auction
right.
as a result of judgment.
Right. As a repairing cost for the fiber cable that they damaged.
Yeah,
right.
And one more point. There are not so much of vessels which Russia Federation could operate.
Right.
One vessel should be sold, second, third, and they run out.
So are you telling me that I imagine I heard they just a couple of vessels were stopped and the investigation is underway. I don't know what happened to that very moment, but we say that if a ship that was damaging the cable, we caught it. So is it legal that we just, what do we do with it? We sell it? What do we do with the crew? What do we do with the people? I mean, if this is Russian flag, we understand that these are enemies, or at least not obvious enemies, but saboteurs. But if this is, I don't know, a Panama flag or whatever, any country's flag.
I do agree with you. Look, but there should be conducted an investigation, and the interrogation should be also conducted to understand to understand who is friend, who is friend of foe. One more, to understand what were intentions of, for example, captain and or his crew. What about strange persons on this vessel who run this vessel, for example? So every condition should be studied, and the option for or way for judge to decide whether they're guilty or not guilty. And also from my side, this vessel should be sold on an auction.
Yeah, I mean, that makes it two of us, because the reason I'm smiling, because I'm pleased, I would be pleased if I will see a Russian vessel that is sold and the money would go to Latvia or to Estonia. Well, that Latvian cable was my native Latvia, and they just broke that cable and damaged it. But it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Do you see what is going on? Because Russia is like, it's an imperial playground of Russia, the Baltic Sea. That's what it is. And they do whatever they want. And they say, no, that's not us. And Europe is like, but maybe that's not Russia. All right, then who then? But I mean, how we can push the system? I'm just speculating here. How can we push the Europe system, the legislative system, the not just the legislation, but actual the law enforcers to the very core of the fact that Russia is already an enemy.
Okay, you've got a point. Look, as we talked with you before, some months ago, we described that, unfortunately, the dictatorship regimes are more effective rather than democratic regimes, because democratic government. Because democratic government, they have to conduct election campaign. They have to pay attention.
All the mayhem.
Media, they have to pay attention on opposition parties. They have to pay attention on public opinion surveys, etc., etc. What about dictatorship regimes?
Nothing.
Vladimir Putin, Lukashenko, Kim Jong Un. They pay attention only on their own ego. So what do I want to do? That's only matter. In the everything doesn't matter at all. So from my side, I think for example, Finland, Norway, Estonian governments, they should be more decisive, and law enforcement agencies should be also more decisive investigating such kind of saboteur operation. And maybe I'm not familiar with local judgment tradition or law enforcement investigation tradition, but I think they should be revised and updated, maybe in the term of more severe punishment for such kind of saboteur operation.
Well, this is I was obviously sorry for that, but I was obviously pushing you to that point, so it is clear for the audience that the legislation has to be changed. So to let the law enforcers act accordingly what is going on, because what is going on is a sabotage.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's also comes from high-ranked politics. So they have to admit, we are dealing with Russian secret saboteur operation. We are dealing with former KGB agents, lots of agents, KGB agents in the Russian government. Yeah. If my memory serves me well, about 52% of all high-ranking officials in Russian Federation, they are directly or indirectly connected with or KGB or Soviet KGB or Federal Security Service of Russian Federation. So it's extremely large number of spies in Russian government.
Well, that makes all these secret operations not too secret for us. So that much is clear. Ivan, thank you so very much for commenting on what's going on. Let's see what is going to happen in the nearest future and get connected and discuss that. Thank you so very much.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Well, that would be all for tonight. Thank you so very much for your precious time with us. My name is Henry Keane, and we are UATV English, an English-speaking Ukrainian state media, doing our very best to deliver truth in easy terms for you, for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine. So please like, share, and let us know how we actually are doing with that. Comment. Your voice matters as it helps Ukrainian voice to be heard globally. Stay safe and tune for more already tomorrow. Goodbye.